welcome to Sasa's Kitchen, and today we're going to be making a vegetable soup from scratch. None of that canned junk that tastes like so here it is. First of all, Happy New Year! Yay, 2016. Okay, so of course everyone's making New Year's resolutions, and most of the top thing is like eat better, healthy, and do more exercise, blah blah blah. Okay, whatever. But if you really want to do something, I don't think you don't need to wait until New Year's resolutions to do something. If you want to do something, just go out and do it. Nothing's going to stop you. Nothing ever stopped me. So, there we go. Anyways, one of the main reasons I'm making this, I had a few people over for the holidays and I made this vegetable soup, and they were pretty surprised at how I could get so much flavor into the soup without adding chicken stock, without using any kind of meat base to have a soup flavor. It really is how the vegetables blend, and they have a nice melody that go together, and simmering it for around 20-25 minutes. It brings out all the flavors, and there's a procedure and method to do that makes it really awesome. I make this rather often in my family, and it goes through really fast. Of course, during the winter time it's great because it's really warming for the body. So here's the soup. Okay, so here we have about 3 pieces of cabbage. We have 2 celery stalks. We have the equivalent of about 2 pieces of carrots, a small piece of broccoli, 1 potato. This is already cut up. It was 1 zucchini. 5 to 6 cloves of garlic, 2 bay leaves. You can have 3 to 4 tomatoes and 2 onions. And everything is cut to be bite-sized. The cabbage, you might want to cut a little bit bigger because it tends to shrink. And as well as the tomatoes, I like to cut them in fat quarters like this. And everything else is about bite-sized. And feel free to use any vegetables that are in season. Okay, so I recommend using dried beans and cook the beans yourself instead of using canned beans. The taste is completely different, and they put other stuff in. You know when you open the canned beans and there's this slimy, goopy liquid? It's just like... Anyways, so buy the dry beans 2 days before you're going to make soup. You soak your beans overnight. Then you put it in the slow cooker for about 8 to 10 hours depending on the bean. And then you just plug it in, set it, and you walk away and it just is fine. And then when you're done, you're like, ooh, the beans are ready. So that's the method we do it. And also, you could cook a big batch at a time. And when you have leftover beans, you put them in a Ziploc bag in... depending on how big your family is, we put about like 2 cups, about this portion in a Ziploc bag. You put it in the freezer, and the next time you make soup, you just take that bag out and you just dump it in the soup, and you cook it, and it'll be perfect. So the way I learned how to make vegetable soup is through Jamie Oliver. I really love his cookbooks and himself, obviously. He's a great British chef. And so here's the recipe I'm basing it off of. He also has really good, I may probably make this next time. This tomato soup is the best thing. The moment you try this, you'll never buy canned tomato soup ever again. So quite a few soup recipes I've tried, but today we'll just be making the classic vegetable one. And I highly recommend checking out Jamie Oliver's books. I have 4 of them, and they teach you methods and ways that you can apply to daily life. And not just planning a menu, going out to buy it, and it's all a hassle, because you want to learn some techniques of cooking and then apply it to your daily life of eating healthier. Especially this is his latest cookbook that I just got, Everyday Superfood. I haven't had a chance to try out some of the recipes, but they look really awesome, and I can't wait to try a bunch of them. Okay, now we're ready to start cooking. So you have your large pot ready and a wooden spoon, medium-high heat. Add a bunch of lugs of oil. And you just want to let this to heat up for a few minutes before we start cooking. And at first when I cook, we start with the onions. I find when you're sauteing onions, they absorb a lot of oil. So I use a regular canola or vegetable oil. And afterwards, later on, we're going to add some olive oil because olive oil has really good flavor that you want to impact into your soup. Okay, so once it starts making that popping noise, you get all of our onions. Okay, so for the onions, you want to make sure you stir it so it doesn't burn. And we always cook the onions first so that the flavor and the smell can be released before because if you just boil all your vegetables in water, the flavor won't be the same. So it's important that you follow the correct steps and procedures. So we're going to saute the onions until they become very fragrant, and this will take about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so while you started cooking the onions, take 1 pot of water, and you just want to bring this pot of water to boil so that later it'll be faster when you heat up the soup, okay? Instead of just adding cold water to your big pot. The next step is to add the carrots and celery. And you want to quickly stir this so that everything, the oil can touch all the carrots and celery. And now I'm going to add the bay leaves and the garlic. I don't add the garlic first with the onions because then they tend to be overcooked and you can potentially burn your garlic. And then you just get a small little bowl of water. It's about like 2 tablespoons. We're just going to add it in. Something really special about celery, why I loved it cooked. It has a very special flavor. So that's why we need to saute the carrots and celery and onion first before we add any water. Now we're going to add some lugs of olive oil. Say about maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. Next we'll add the zucchini. Okay, so now we're going to add the water. And once you add the water in, you want to put the heat back up to high because you need it to boil again. And this is not enough water, so you're going to fill up your pot again. So now we add our tomatoes. And we have the cabbage. Okay, we want to add the potatoes and the broccoli stems, but not the broccoli florets. So here we have the stems as well as the potato. And so the bay leaves are there just to cook, to give the flavor. Before serving, you're going to take the bay leaves out. And another note is that when you buy the tomatoes, if you have the stem, you should keep the stem in a whole big piece. Throw it into your soup because it acts the same way as a bay leaf. The tomato stem is very fragrant. So you cook it with your soup in the water. And then at the end, you remove the tomato stem. Okay, so once the water comes to a boil, we're going to cover the lid, reduce to about medium heat, and we're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, so after that's done, you open the pot, careful. Ooh. Now we're going to add some salt. I use sea salt. So here, a nice spoon. Stir that in. We're going to add our chickpeas now. So you can use about 1 can's worth or about 1.5 cups to 2 cups. I add the chickpeas in towards the end because they're rather heavy and they're going to sink to the bottom and sit there, and it'll be difficult for the bubbles to push the water around and push the vegetables so that they will cook. And their chickpeas are already cooked, so that's not a big deal. Gonna add some pepper. So here's some pepper. I also add freshly ground pepper. I like to use a combination of both because they have different kind of taste and spiciness. So I use both. I also use oregano. So about 1 spoon, 1 teaspoon, a little bit more. And so I use oregano and thyme. Now we're going to close the lid again. We're going to put it on for another about 5 to 10 minutes. Let's do 6 minutes. There we go. Okay, so at this point, you want to taste the soup to figure out if it's too salty or it needs more pepper or whatever. Needs more salt. So at this point, we're going to turn the heat off. Find the bay leaves, you can remove them. Going fishing, where are you? There's 2, right? There's 2. Oh, there it is. Okay, so the last step, we're going to add the broccoli. I like to add it at the end, even though the heat is off, it's still going to cook because this is bloody hot. Because if you add it in the beginning, I find the broccoli becomes really mushy, and because he has these little florets, these little tree-like branches, it just becomes a bunch of mush. And I like my broccoli to be a bit more firm, so we add this at the end. And also, if you add the broccoli at the beginning, the longer you cook any kind of dark green vegetable, it becomes this ugly, mucky color. So in general, once you add the greens, it should be near the end. And also, once you add green stuff, you don't want to cover it anymore. It will lose its vibrant color. So that's the end of this tutorial. So I hope you learned something and you'll go out and try and make your own vegetable soup. And keep in mind that you can change up the ingredients according to your preferences and what's in season. So here we go. Beautiful. Itadakimasu. Hai, dozo. So, and also, if you're just single or only 2 people in the family, you can cook a whole pot and freeze individual portion sizes. And later on, you can defrost it either in a saucepan or microwave it. So then you could save some time. You just cook one big pot. It could last you a couple days. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.